Ever wondered where to go on your next Italian adventure? Don't worry. Stay tuned as we discover the top 10 cities you absolutely have to visit in Italy. From the old ruins of Rome to the lovely canals of Venice, Italy has something for everyone. So relax, sit back and let me be your guide to this beautiful and historic country. Right, some people might tell you to hire a car, but honestly, who wants the bother of driving through those narrow, cobbled streets, not to mention parking? It's a nightmare. The best way to see Italy is by train. It's quick, it's comfy, and it gives you a chance to really enjoy the views. Over the next few minutes, we'll be hopping on and off the train, exploring the sights, sounds, and of course, the delicious food of Italy. Ah, Rome, the city that everyone knows. It's been around for ages, hasn't it? And it's still amazing. They say all roads lead to Rome, and they do for a good reason. This is where you'll find the Colosseum, that massive stadium where gladiators used to fight. Imagine the cheering crowds, the clashing swords, and then there's Vatican City, the smallest country in the world, right in the middle of Rome, home to the Pope and some of the most impressive art and buildings ever made. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, anyone? But Rome isn't just about ancient history. It's a lively, busy city with fantastic food, brilliant shops, and a certain, how can I put it, crazy charm. You'll be dodging scooters, sipping coffee at cute cafes, and throwing coins in the Trevi Fountain in no time. Just make sure you wear comfy shoes. Next stop, Venice. Now, I'm not usually a big fan of water, unless it's in my tea, obviously, but Venice is special. It's like a city that's gone on holiday and decided to float about a bit. Instead of roads, you have canals. Instead of buses, you have gondolas. And instead of noisy traffic, you have the gentle sound of water against the buildings. It's really peaceful. Romantic, even. Of course, you can't go to Venice without a gondola ride. Yes, it's a bit touristy, but treat yourself. You'll float past beautiful palaces, under arched bridges, and maybe even hear your gondolier sing. And talking of palaces, make sure you visit Doge's Palace, a masterpiece of Venetian architecture. Florence, the birthplace of the Renaissance, a city packed with art, culture, and history. You can practically smell the paint drying on a Michelangelo masterpiece. Talking of Michelangelo, you have to see the David, that's right, the famous one. It's a truly amazing sculpture. The detail, the sheer size of it, it's enough to make you feel a bit small, really. And while you're in Florence, make sure you visit the Uffizi Gallery. It's home to some of the most famous Renaissance art, including Botticelli's Birth of Venus and Leonardo da Vinci's Annunciation. But Florence isn't just about museums and galleries. Take a walk across the Ponte Vecchio, the only bridge in Florence that wasn't destroyed in World War II, and admire the shops built along it. Chapter 4. Milan, Fashion and Finance. Milan, a city of style, sophistication, and, let's be honest, shopping. If you're looking for the latest fashions, this is the place to be. But Milan is more than just a pretty face. It's also a major financial center, home to the Italian stock exchange and some of the country's most important businesses. Now, you can't talk about Milan without mentioning the Duomo. This Gothic cathedral is absolutely stunning, with its detailed front and tall spires. It took nearly 600 years to build, which I suppose isn't surprising. And while you're admiring the Duomo, don't forget to check out the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II, a beautiful 19th century shopping arcade. It's the perfect place to window shop, or if you're feeling rich, to treat yourself. Just make sure you bring your credit card. Chapter 5, Naples Gateway to the Amalfi Coast. Naples, a city that's as crazy as it is charming. It's a place where history, culture, and delicious food come together in a mix of sights, sounds, and smells. Now, Naples is famous for its pizza. And let me tell you, it's not just hype. This is the real thing. Thin, crispy base topped with fresh, tasty ingredients. It's amazing. But Naples is more than just pizza. It's also the gateway to the Amalfi Coast, a stunning stretch of coastline with pretty villages and beautiful beaches. And if you're interested in history, you can't miss Pompeii. This ancient Roman city was buried under volcanic ash after Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. Chapter 6, Bologna, a feast for the senses. Bologna, a city that's often forgotten, but believe me, it's worth visiting. It's known for its food, its history, and its beautiful porticos, which are basically covered walkways along the streets. Very handy, especially if it's raining. Now, Bologna is often called La Grassa, which means the fat one, and for good reason. This is a city that loves its food. We're talking fresh pasta, cured meats, creamy cheeses, and rich sauces. It's a food lover's dream. Make sure you try the tagliatelle al ragu, which is basically the original bolognese sauce, and don't forget the tortellini in brodo, little pasta parcels filled with meat or cheese and served in a tasty broth. But Bologna isn't just about food, it's also home to the oldest university in the Western world, the University of Bologna, founded in 1088. Chapter 7. Turin, a city that's often forgotten about compared to its more famous neighbors, Rome, Florence, and Venice. But don't let that fool you. Turin is a hidden gem, a city of elegance, history, and innovation. It used to be the capital of Italy, you know, and it still feels quite grand. You can feel it in the wide boulevards, the impressive palaces, and the sophisticated atmosphere. Turin is also where Fiat cars come from, and while you may not think of cars as being particularly elegant, some of those classic Fiats are very stylish. Make sure you visit the Egyptian Museum, which has one of the biggest collections of Egyptian artifacts outside of Egypt. It's a fascinating look into the past. And if you're looking for something a bit more modern, check out the National Cinema Museum, which is in the Mole Antonelliana, Turin's most famous landmark. Verona, city of romance. Verona, the city of Romeo and Juliet. Ah, yes. Shakespeare's sad love story. It makes you believe in love, or at least in the power of a good story. And Verona is a city made for romance, with its charming streets, its pretty bridges, and its ancient Roman amphitheatre. It's like going back in time. Of course, you can't go to Verona without visiting Juliet's house. It's supposed to be the house where Juliet Capulet lived, and it's now a very popular tourist attraction. You can even leave a letter to Juliet, asking for her advice about love. But Verona is more than just a Shakespearean setting. It also has a well-preserved Roman arena, which still hosts concerts and operas in the summer. Chapter 9, Genoa, a maritime metropolis. Genoa, a city with a rich history of the sea. It used to be a powerful republic, ruling the waves with its huge fleet. And while those days are gone, Genoa still has a seafaring charm. The harbour is busy, with fishing boats, cargo ships, and pleasure boats coming and going all the time. And the air smells of salt water, fresh seafood, and I have to say, a bit of engine oil. It's amazing. Make sure you visit the Galata Museo del Mare, a fascinating museum all about the history of seafaring. You can explore a 17th century Genoese galleon, learn about the lives of sailors, and even try steering a ship. And while you're in Genoa, don't forget to try the local food. Seafood is the main thing here, of course, but there are lots of other delicious things to try, such as panzotti, a type of ravioli filled with herbs and cheese, and chima alla genovese, a veal dish stuffed with vegetables and herbs. Chapter 10, Siena, medieval marvel. Siena? A city that time seems to have forgotten. It's like stepping back into the Middle Ages with its narrow, winding streets, its tall medieval buildings, and its strong sense of history. The heart of Siena is the Piazza del Campo, a magnificent shell-shaped square that's considered one of the best medieval squares in Europe. It's where the famous Palio di Siena takes place twice a year, a horse race where the riders don't use saddles, and it's been run since the 17th century. But Siena is more than just a pretty square. It's also home to the Duomo di Siena, a stunning cathedral with a black and white striped front that's really eye-catching. And make sure you visit the Pinacoteca Nazionale, which has a collection of Sienese art from the 13th to the 16th centuries. It's a fascinating look into the city's artistic past. Well, there you have it. Our quick tour of Italy's top 10 cities is over. We've explored ancient ruins, admired Renaissance masterpieces, and enjoyed some truly delicious food. Thanks for joining us on this tour of Italy's top cities. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video for more travel ideas. Arrivederci.